Hello and welcome to another Warhammer game Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a big thank you to Dankalev8 for sending in some awesome pictures of his Cadian General. I have to say, I really like this model. It's simple yet effective. Guy's got a big coat, power fist, can't go wrong with those. Fancy upgrades for a general. And then you've got a bolter being carried by a servo skull. I mean, this is just a really cool model and I really like it. And you know what? I'm probably going to steal the idea for my Mordian restoration project. So thanks for sending these pictures in. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they want me to use in my videos, then please post them on my Facebook page or email them directly at mordianglorytv@gmail.com. But without further ado, let's get into today's video. So what I want to do, guys, today is actually have a bit of a sit down, and it's going to be kind of a casual chat, and I'm going to be running through my idea for a competitive infantry army that I am actually going to be running, fielding and taking to a tournament. So the tournament that I'm going to be going to is the Warlords Team Tournament. And it's not going to be for 3 or 4 months when the UK lockdown finally lifts. Well, hopefully it lifts at that time. And the plan is that I want to take my Mordian 50th Rifles to a tournament. I've been painting and painting these guys. I've not been able to take them to any events. It will be over 2 years since I started the project by the time the tournament comes around. And in that time, the army will have only actually had a handful of games. I've played lots of games with other guard armies like my Steel Legion and my Scions and whatnot. But this will be the proper outing for the Mordian 50th Rifles. This will be their time to shine in the sun. And of course, I kind of want them to do well. So I have an idea for a list, but I'm also, it's interesting. Normally people send me lists and I try and give them a few tips and feedbacks either in the comments or in the emails. But this is actually kind of me coming to the community and saying, what do you guys think about this list? You know, so I have my idea, but then I'm going to present some alternatives to the list as well. So what I'm looking at, guys, first and foremost, is a foot guard list. Okay, I'm a foot guard general. I traditionally take pure infantry guard, foot guard to tournaments. That's kind of what I want to do. Okay, now there's a couple of ways of doing this, and I do appreciate the fact that I won't be having any demolisher tank commanders or full payload manticores or anything like that. I know, but we're looking to, the idea of the list is to swarm the battlefield and swarm the objectives. Okay, so we're going to be looking at about, well, over 200 infantry. Now, the current iteration I have for the list is as follows. I'm going to take 3 battalions, okay? I'm not going to be taking any brigades. I know I could save some command points, but instead of, I don't want to be, I want to be getting as much infantry as possible. I don't want to be taking sentinel attacks or anything like that. I just want to be taking as points efficient pure infantry guard army as possible. Okay, so the idea is to take 3 battalions and to take as many infantry squads as possible. Max out the infantry squads. Okay, which means I will be taking 18 infantry squads, which is 180 line infantry. Now the plan for these infantry squads is actually quite simple. I'm going to take them all nearly identically. I'm thinking every single infantry squad is going to have a sergeant with a las pistol and chainsword. Keep it cheap. I have messed around with the idea of giving them bolters, but the fact that bolters have gone from 1 point to 2 points means that actually I can't afford them anymore. And the fact that infantry squads have gone up in points cost means I can't afford them anymore. Sad. I wish I could have all my guys with servo skull bolters, but screw you, Games Workshop. Anyway, so the idea is to give every sergeant a las pistol and chainsword, keep them cheap and keep them as frag grenade caddies, essentially. Every squad is then going to have a plasma gun as a special weapon, which is 18 plasma guns. That's nice. And then I'm going to give each squad a heavy weapon. Now, there's 2 reasons for this. Number 1 is it helps me mitigate very, very slightly, but every bit helps me mitigate some of the points that my opponent can get for thin their ranks against this list. You see, a heavy weapons team counts as 1 infantry model, not 2. So by giving every one of these infantry squads a heavy weapon, it actually reduces the amount of within the ranks potential from each squad by 10%, which is actually quite nice when you think about it. So that's the first reason, playing against my opponent. Second, playing against what my opponent wants to pick as secondaries. The second reason is long-range firepower. I'm going to be running a lot of guardsmen, and a lot of those guardsmen are going to be stuck with las guns and plasma guns. That means that I have, unless I take lots of heavy weapons, an effective threat range of only 24 to 30 inches. It's not really enough. So instead, we're going to be looking at taking lots and lots of heavy weapons, which means I will actually have a lot of long-range firepower. Now I'm either going to be going with heavy bolters or autocannons and restricting myself to those two choices for a number of reasons. Firstly, I want all my infantry squads to cost less than 70 points, and well, or 70 points or less I should say, and because otherwise they're starting to get really expensive. I mean, 55 points plus 5 for the special weapon plus 10 for the heavy weapon. These are actually expensive infantry squads now. Probably some of the most expensive I've fielded since, well, God knows which edition, 5th edition. So yeah, we need to keep them cheap, but we need that long range firepower. Secondly, I don't have 18 heavy bolters, unfortunately. I do have 18 plasma guns, amazingly, I've built those up, but I currently don't have 18 heavy bolters. I'm going to get as many heavy bolters together as I can, but I'm probably not going to reach 18. Which means I'm going to need some autocannons because they both are damage 2 weapons, which is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for consistent damage in this army. Damage 2 or overwhelming number of damage 1 shots via all the las guns. Now, autocannon. Third reason is autocannons are strength 7. Against a lot of the opponents that we're seeing at the moment, we're talking about bikers, we're talking about death guard, we're talking about terminators, a lot of, with toughness 5, we're looking at toughness 5 all over the place. Heavy intercessors are just around the corner, toughness 5 all over the place. In that case, there's a good chance that actually heavy bolters, their toughness 5, their strength 5, will start becoming not good enough, and I am going to need that strength 7. And that means that each squad's putting out, 2 overcharged plasma shots and 2 autocannon shots. That is 4 medium to high strength shots from each squad, which is really nice. Okay, now a couple of restrictions, a couple of disappointments in the infantry squad selection is because of the increase to the base cost of the infantry squad. I won't be taking Foxcasters in this current list because I used to take Foxcasters, but now that the infantry squads have gone up by 5 points, I need to save 5 points per squad, and that becomes an easy decision to start shaving the Foxcasters off. Currently, that's the way we're looking at it. So all the infantry squads, and also it'd be nice if I could have taken bolters in all my infantry squads, but I can't, and it would have been nice if I could have taken plasma pistols, but I can't. I simply can't justify the cost. I'm already paying 70 points per infantry squad. So, next part of the list. I want more infantry. I want more line infantry. I want more 10-man squads. 10-man squads. Not, the heavy weapon I know is only 1 model, but 10 men in the squad. So I'm going to take 3 units of veterans. Now those veterans are going to be armed with 3 grenade launchers each, and again an autocannon in each squad. Now that is to keep them cheap, because obviously if I start putting plasma guns on those veterans, they are going to cost more, and also it allows the veterans to do what I want them to do, is not to outflank, not to be getting shot off the table straight away. I want them to be sitting back and helping hold my objectives. The plan will be that there's going to be so much infantry in the enemy's way they're not going to be able to get to my objectives of their own OBSEC, which will be good because the things that are going to be holding my objectives are probably not going to be OBSEC either. So we're going to be looking at 3 squads of veterans. 24-inch range on those grenade launchers means they don't need to get any closer to be popping off crack grenades, and those crack grenades are going to complement the autocannons, which are also firing a similar strength, similar damage weapon. So I'll have 30 veterans. It allows me to blister skill 3+, but again, it means those veterans are putting out damage without being a high priority unit. Do you want to shoot the veterans with grenade launchers, or do you want to shoot all the infantry squads with plasma guns? Probably going to need to shoot those plasma guns, and the grenade launchers are actually going to be doing a surprising amount of damage to you. That's the thinking anyway. Backing that up is going to be 3 heavy weapon teams, and each one of those heavy weapon teams is going to have mortars. Okay. Now I know mortars aren't great, but it's still one of the cheapest ways of running them. And I also know that I need some way of ignoring line of sight. Now I know I've talked about heavy mortars recently, but in this army, I'm kind of struggling to justify taking the heavy mortars. I can't really squeeze them in, to be honest. There's a lot of, I'm already trimming out a lot of things on this list to be able to maintain the high level of infantry that I want and make sure that infantry can actually do stuff. It's not just dudes with lasguns running around. And then the force is going to be led by 3 company commanders, no upgrades, 3 platoon commanders, no upgrades, and 3 Lord Commissars with the mandatory bolt pistol and power sword. So essentially no upgrades, just what they have to take. That will give me a total force of, well, 180 infantry plus 3 squads of veterans, so 210, plus 3 heavy weapon teams and 9 characters is 27 more infantry, which means the total infantry count for this list is 237. To be simple, we'll say 240. So 240 infantry in this list, which is nice. It's very nice. However, I'm a little concerned about a couple of things. Firstly, all the squads are only 10-man squads, which means it can be kind of easy just to clear them. I don't know, it just feels like I know it sounds insane, but it feels like I might not have enough just blocks of durability. I'm kind of relying on pure wounds. Maybe it's the fact that I've not had a chance to run this list yet, and it's been a while since I've been able to run my pure infantry guard this way with the new colour scheme. So maybe it's just the fact that I haven't had enough practice with the list. But in a crazy sort of way, it almost feels like not enough infantry. I know, insane, right? So I'm not sure actually how durable it is. Because in a funny sort of way, because I've spent a lot of points on making all the infantry valuable, it also means that I kind of don't want any of the infantry to die as much. Because every squad's got a plasma gun, every squad's got an autocannon or heavy bolter. It means that I just feel like I don't want all... if I lose an infantry squad, I'm actually losing a chunk of firepower there. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm getting my feeling across. But there's almost no sacrificial infantry. It's all good infantry. So I've had 2 ideas of how to change this list up. The first idea is to add sacrificial infantry in. Drop the veterans and drop an infantry squad from each detachment, which would mean I'd be losing 60 infantry. Okay? But instead, and I'd also bear in mind, I'd be losing 60 infantry, I'd be losing 6 heavy weapons, and I'd be losing 12 special weapons. So actually a lot of firepower. Okay? A lot of that ballistical food plus firepower as well. But by dropping that, I'm able to free up enough points and enough slots to then be able to take 90 conscripts, 3 squads of 30 conscripts. Now, conscripts don't have the firepower, and they don't have the damage output at all. But they do have something called force concentration. They are bricks of infantry. And they have that thing which my infantry squads don't have, which is 30 in one concentrated place, and I can throw 30 guys onto an objective. They're also totally sacrificial. If they die, I don't care. If they kill anything or don't kill anything, I don't care. They're a fantastic way of clogging the board up, and that's kind of what I want to do. And I'm just wondering if, I know it's only an additional 30 bodies, but it will take me from 240 infantry to 270 infantry, which is good. It's really good. And actually it's slightly cheaper. I'll have 50 points left over, whereas in the other list I only had 20 points left over, which would then mean I could start adding things like Vox casters into the other squads. So it's interesting. There's this kind of like dynamic going on. So I'm not sure which of those 2 lists is good. Now then comes another curveball, and admittedly I haven't pointed this up as much. But do I actually take abhumans? Do I actually take, instead of taking veterans and all this other stuff, do I actually really drop the infantry down? We're talking like maybe down to 150 infantry. but instead take a couple of blocks of bullgryn. I mean, if I drop all of the veterans from the first list, I can almost get a full squad of bullgryn. So do I take 180 infantry and some bullgryn, or do I actually drop it even further down to like 120 infantry, 150 infantry, but take 2 squads of bullgryn? Now, I would normally never entertain this idea, but this is the importance of playing different lists. I've actually, due to the way the Mordian Restoration Project worked, I've actually been forced to use bullgryns quite a lot. In fact, all the games that I've used in my Mordian 50 rifles, I've used bullgryns. And I have noticed how durable and how good they are at combat. And 9th edition is very much a combat game for pushing people off of objectives. And I'm just worried that if I don't have the bullgryns, I'll actually notice that I'm losing that durability. And I'll also notice that I don't have that capability in close combat. I don't have that combat attrition, that combat punch. I'll be relying upon Daka and almost Daka alone, and only a few bayonet charges to maybe finish some people off. It's a bit of a tricky one, and I'm genuinely not sure which is the better option. Genuinely. So, there we go. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, those 3 options. Now I'm currently planning on taking option number 1 and taking a lot of infantry and making that infantry good. 240 infantry. Now bear in mind, 210 of those infantry are line infantry. That means they're 10-man squads and they've got good firepower. On a small 9th edition board with L-shaped ruins and all that kind of stuff, that is going to be a nightmare for a lot of my opponents to deal with. It does mean I'm going to have to get really, really good at practicing my movement and and I've got to dust off these old. I can't be taking forever to moving the guys around, is what I'm saying. But then you've got the other list, which is like more infantry but less firepower, but more objective capability. It's a tricky one. And the last but not least, we've got that third list, which has a lot less infantry but has a lot more combat punch and is significantly less susceptible to things like thin the ranks. Okay, what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'm really interested. If you've got any ideas for competitive lists, have there been any competitive lists that I've done the rounds that I may have missed? Please let me know about them. Link them to me. I know Goonham, I do lots of articles. Link them to me and I'll read them and I'll analyse them and I can do some follow-up videos on this. The plan is that in April I will be able to start doing practice games, and that's really important to note because practice games, because I'll be able to play Warhammer in my back garden now that I have a garden. I didn't used to have one. Now that I have a back garden, I can actually have games in the back garden with one other person. So that'll be really good to get some tournament practice in play. I won't be able to have more than one person in the back garden. I think there'll be UK rules, but I'll be able to practice, which is cool. So I will be doing some follow-up videos on kind of like evolution, getting back into the tournament mindset, how this list is going to adapt. But right now, it's the Theory Hammer, and I'm putting it out to you guys. I'd be really interested to know what you think. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Looking forward to reading all the comments, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.